Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
All right. Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Jennifer Conrad with me here today. From history teacher to brand architect, Jennifer Conrad is on a mission to help businesses, real estate professionals, and entrepreneurs craft brands that thrive. Welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Hi, thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me.
All right. So you went from history teacher, to running your own marketing company. Is that the one sentence summary?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, one sentence summary that fits everything in, because it is a journey. It's been an interesting journey over the last 9 years. But yeah, you summed it up perfectly.
Okay, so it's interesting to me. So I think that's something a lot of people don't get degrees in history, but I think it's fascinating. I think you really need to know where you come from to really properly know where you're at and your place in the world. So can you speak a little bit to how that's helped you, right? Being a history teacher, I think you studied theology as well. Is that right?
Yeah. So I have a background in history and theology. So I've got 2 degrees, but which is interesting is, as a history teacher, we're trained as historians, and how I was trained is we're to kind of think outside the box. You look at patterns. You can see, and you're also learning to listen. Because when we're interviewing people, I always look at people as like a primary source and a secondary source. And the primary source is the people that, who've lived that experience. So when I sit down and I listen to people and I work with people, I'm listening to them and I'm like finding out kind of what are they trying to do? What are you trying to do in your messaging, or what you're trying to do in your business? Give me the 30,000 foot drop, and taking their ideas that they can't articulate and actually messaging in that to meet where they're at. And everyone tells me, like, hey, I mean, you took what I've been trying to say and interpret in a way that people can understand. And that's kind of what we do with history, is like we learn, we see patterns, we're able to extract information to be able to find out, like, hey, here's your problem. This is like something you're doing with your marketing, or something like why it's not connecting. And so like taking that and putting it into building my company, it's helped me tremendously. It's always better to listen and find the source of the problem, and then be able to like, hey, this is what's happening.
Okay. So it sounds like real estate professionals are some of your clients, right?
Yes.
Okay. So they have a brand or something, but they can't quite get it out there. What sort of aspects do you help them with? What sort of services do you provide?
Yeah. So some of the things I do is like a lot of messaging, a lot of copywriting, like, because I mean, in Arizona, this is a fact here. It might have changed, but there's over 64,000 agents in Arizona, licensed. 14,000 are inactive. And a lot of these people, like everybody kind of does the same. They do the same, the same thing. And a lot of them struggle is like, how can I define myself? How can I stand out in a sea of thousands of real estate agents? How can I, stand out? And I always ask the question, I was like, well, what's your differentiator, or what we call in marketing, what's your unique value proposition? What makes you different? You guys all do, kind of do the same thing, but how can you stand out? And a lot of them can't answer that. A lot of them don't know how, like they're like, well, I'm a real estate agent. And they don't know, like, in a lot of some of these real estate agents, I've had clients that this is their second career, their career change. They don't, how can, let's say, I had a client who she was an engineer going into real estate. Like, how can I translate that? And that's where I come in. I sit down, like, okay, let's talk about like what your skills are. And you can translate that into a story into your marketing, into your branding. So that's kind of what we do, is like we listen and we help kind of bridge the builds of the two careers, stuff like that. So.
Are you familiar with building a story brand?
Yes.
Okay. That's, is it Donald Miller? I think.
I believe so. It's been a while since I read the book.
Okay. Yeah. It's for our listeners who may not know, it's a really good book. It's kind of, he starts off talking about the nature of how there's like 7 stories, right, in humanity.
Yeah.
Right? There's several different. The main one everybody often sees is the hero's journey, right? That's like Star Wars, Harry Potter, right? That guy, there's the guy and he's in trouble, and then he meets a guide who helps him overcome adversity, and then now he's the guide. The hero's journey is you come back to your tribe with the boons, and you can help everyone else now, right? That's kind of the premise. And in marketing, right? It's to your point, Jennifer. It's asking them the questions, figuring out who they are, what their experiences are, and how they can combine that into their brand to differentiate them and help them find the people who they can connect with and who that resonates with. I've always thought that was a fascinating process. What are some of the challenges associated with it?
Well, so some of the challenges is like trying to build that, like trying to and I always tell people it's like you have your resume, you have your, the things that you have, but how can you connect? And that's kind of what a lot of people are missing. It's that emotional connection. Because like a lot of these real estate agents, and it relates to every single business industry where you're in, is that they see everything as a transaction. They're not providing that value. How can I provide that value? It's relationship building. How can you connect on that, that authentic level where people are like, hey, I like you. I want to do business with you. You're trustworthy. It's that thought leadership. And so it's like, that's kind of the struggle people, especially like real estate agents, see is like, okay, I'm going to list all my transactions, but like they can't list like, well, how can I, this is why you should do business with me, because they always think about that sale. And I always tell people, don't think about the sale. Think about how can build, because everything is built on trust. It's built on connection. It's built on trust. It feels like I can know, I know you. And I think that's like that's how I hope, realtors or companies build brands. Let's talk about that personal brand. Personal brand is so important right now because yes, I have this company, but like, I want to get to know you as a person and like, hey, do our core values line up? Does your mission, does your values, do they line up? And that's how a lot of people in the last maybe 2 to 3 years are doing business now. Is like, do we interconnect? Do we have something in common? And I think that if you can get to the bare bones of who you are as a person, what's your personal brand, can you build that connection with people? You're going to drive business to your company. And that's what we try to do is help people get to the essence of who they are authentically as a person and be able to say like, hey, like these are my core values. This is how I live my life. This is how I run my business. And this is kind of like, like building that connection, that relationship.
Okay. So let's say you have your service or product and step 2 is you have your brand, right? Step 3 is how do you share that brand and connect with people in a 3-second world?
Yeah, I mean, so like social media, people scroll, it's fast. And I always tell people, show who you are. If something is like, it's authentically you, like it's that 80-20 rule. Less on, 20% promotional, 80% you. Like talk about something that's happening in your life, or how I do it on my social media, like when I connect with people is I always like tie a funny story, something that's happened as a kid, but I tie it to what's happening now. I always find that intersect that lesson. And I was like, find something that, people can connect with, something that's authentically, and it's real. And people are like, oh, that's that real person. Don't be so filtered, show you. And I think that's what starts to build and consistency at the same time.
Right. That's a good point in this day and age of AI and so forth, people are starting to respond even more to authenticity, right?
Yeah.
And connection. Can you give an example? Maybe not with names, but one of your clients who, how you do that with them?
Yeah. So like, an example too, like, I have a client who, like, we do like a weekly, we do a weekly, like not a weekly, but a monthly newsletter. And so a lot of them, like when I sat down with my clients, they're like, well, I want to lead with stats. I want to lead with, I want to post my listing here. But I always say, let's frame it in a way that we're telling a story. Let's talk about you, like, building that emotional, connection. So like, what we'll do is, like, I'll sit down, I'll talk with them, like, well, what's happening in your week? And they're like, this, tell a story about an interaction that you had, turn that into a lesson and the pain points. And so it's like, it's all about the copy. So I'll sit down, they'll tell me a story, and I'll write a copy in the way, in their voice, in their tone, and being able to say, hey, kind of, this is like what's happened. And we did that for a post. Oh my gosh, that post took off. The inbox was like people dinging, coming in, like I so connected with you on that, and that turned into a lead. And I think a lot of people are so scared of sharing something that's authentic. Like they'll like look it over, they'll send it to me. I said, just post what you have. Because sometimes the most curated posts or the most curated thing that we do, that, we fine tune it falls flat. Like, for an example, like I will, for me and my, on our social media, like the most unplanned things are the ones that people must connect with. Like one day I like to make, in my free time, I like to make a dance video. Like I'll dance like some trending dance, and I was like, I'll post that. Well, it was that one took off. People like, oh, we just love you being who you are. And I'm like, those are the most authentic ones, So I always tell people, pick up a camera, write something, just be you, and,
Right.
and just let it go. And I think one of the biggest things is that when you post something or you share something, we're so afraid that people are going to judge us for that. And I always tell people, once you create something, it's not for you, just let it go. And and other people are going to connect with it. I think it's just sharing. A lot of people are afraid of sharing themselves.
Right. Yeah, it's I guess it's being vulnerable, but also, as you said, just trying to polish it, right? People don't respond to it if it's too polished, right?
Yeah.
Perfection is not the goal.
No, it's just it's being you, and then being authentic, and then people will connect with that. Like, I mean, like, sometimes when I'm like filming a podcast or when we're interviewing people for our magazine, sometimes I get so hypercritical of like what I'm saying or I'm messing up, and like I'll do like 20 plus takes, and everyone's like, and it's the one take that you get it right, it flows well. I mean, it's just like, it's letting go what people are going to think, and I think that's the biggest thing, right? What's holding people back from their marketing or from their brand is just being you.
Right. Okay, you mentioned the magazine. Can you talk a little bit about that endeavor, please?
Yes. So yeah, this is one of my passions. We launched Arizona Sense in March of 2024. We celebrate a year in last March, and so we launched the magazine. It's about Arizona. It's about the small businesses. It's about real estate. It's about getting to the hearts of the stories of people here, because we at Arizona Sense, we believe that real estate drives business drives community, and community drives action. And so we've been doing this for the last year and 6 months, and I've gotten to meet so many small business owners, so many people at the city, the state level, really passionate about what's happening in Arizona. And there's not any magazine out here doing like what we're doing. It's like we're meeting with a lot of small businesses, and it's interesting too, because like I'll go into a business and I'll talk with these these businesses, and a lot of them are like, well, we don't know how to market. We don't know how to tell our story, because like, a lot of the like the big newspapers are focused on the big companies that are coming to Arizona, but they're not focused on what's happening, like the small businesses. So we'll go in, and and so they're not, they're not focused on the local ones. So we go out, we do a podcast, we interview them, we tell their story, because I believe that behind every great business, every great, entrepreneur, there's a story to be told about their business, how they started, and how they came about, and how they're connected to the community. And so it's just been so wonderful. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're doing God's work." I'm like, "No, it's like I'm just helping you get your story out there, because it's like I'm so passionate about like these people's stories, and just being able to see the community kind of grow and thrive, and just and show people like, hey, there's such a great business just around the corner that they don't know about." Because a lot of a lot of news today, a lot of the marketing is pay to play. If you can't pay, you can't play. You're not going to get that marketing spend. And we've seen a lot of these businesses charge between $2,000 to $5,000 for an article, like, what's your ROI? And so what our mission is, like, we want to tell the authentic stories, and it's just been so great. We got invited to go pitch at ASU's entrepreneurial. They have a big Arizona State has an entrepreneurial group out there called the Pitch In, and they invite people from the community to come in and talk about their businesses. And so everybody was super excited about Arizona Ascent and what we're doing, because we're doing it very differently. We're doing it with the storytelling aspect, the human side, not just like your typical paper, like, hey, here's the story, but like connect, like not that transaction, but like the relationship building and telling their story. And it just took off. Our we've had over like 6,000 people to the website, 3,000 readers, and it's growing. It's growing day by day. And so we've been approached by other organizations to help build similar magazines. So we have a partnership with a nonprofit called Silicon Oasis. They're a magazine with the startup community. So they're telling the story about all of these, wonderful startups that are coming to Arizona, talking about the founders. And we just relaunched another partnership with another company, another organization, nonprofit. We're talking about the health of what's happening in Arizona and nationwide.
Okay. Excellent. Yes. Excellent. So, well, first of all, the small business stuff, it's always fascinating. Even the biggest businesses, right? When you think of Apple starting, making computers for their friends, right? Steve and Steve, and then or Amazon, right? Have you seen like the picture of what he's sitting in like a makeshift garage office, right? And he has Amazon written on the back of the wall behind him or whatever. And I don't know, Jeff. Anyway, good stuff. Every company starts small and has a good story. Can you talk a little bit more about Arizona Ascent and the different arms of it? Because there's a podcast and a magazine, and the goal of it.
Yeah, so we have the digital magazine, and we have the podcast. And so on the digital magazine, we have a staff of about, we just added somebody new. We have a staff about five to six. We've got contributors. So we have the real estate side where we do the real estate. We put out a monthly market report of like what's happening in the different cities in Maricopa County. And then we have on the digital magazine, we have stories of what's happening. So we have the untold story. So like last year there was this guy out in Tonopah who was building a Wild Wild West theme park that nobody knew about.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah. So
he's building, and he has a ghost lake. So nobody knew what was going on out in Tonopah. So we went out and we interviewed him and got his story. And then we interviewed, just back in July, we were interviewing the city of Mesa about their Mesa business builder for small businesses and entrepreneurship, getting the word out about that. And then back in June, I was in Show Low. Nobody knows what's going on in Show Low. The city of Show Low is they just built a business incubator out there, and
really?
And there again, they also have a housing shortage. They just did a study. And so I went up to Sholo, and I met with Steve North, the city of Sholo's economic development director, and we did a podcast out there. So this is our second podcast. It was like a 6-month follow-up, and we're telling the stories that nobody know, the untold stories not a lot of people know about, and the ones that are not getting picked up by the news. So we tell a very different story. We have a CPA on our staff who does tax. He talks about like what's happening at the state, like tax, especially with real estate homeowners. Breaks it down. Like he and I do a podcast every month, and then we have we've got a home organizer who she writes stories about like what's happening in the homes, like how to organize. So we started out as this real estate magazine, but it's turning into this lifestyle brand, small business, everything like that. And talking about what's happening at the colleges. And so we actually got an acquisition offer in March by a company up in Flagstaff who wanted to, they're so excited about what we're doing that they wanted. I said no, and then I just got another acquisition offer yesterday. Like, hey, do you want to sell your? Like, no, we're good. I've got the vision, but we have a podcast where we sit down and we talk about like what's happening, the stories. I've interviewed so many different people. I've interviewed Tom Galvin, the chairman of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. I've interviewed mayoral candidates, Linda Milhaven. I've gotten to sit down. I'm working on sitting down with Lisa Borowski, mayor of Scottsdale. I've gotten to meet so many different people to talk about like what's happening in Arizona, especially Maricopa County with the housing, the people moving here, because it all affects everything, and that's like not a lot of people know what's happening. We focus on like housing issues, like what's happening. I went to Lisa Borowski's first town hall back in May, got to talk with her, find out what was happening in Scottsdale. So it's like, we're providing that, like, here's what, what's happening, because we believe it's all tied together. And it's so crazy how so many doors have been opened to creating a new media, that connects with the community. It's all, because we believe it's all intertwined. So we've gotten involved in a lot of things, and I've got interest from other cities and states, like what we're doing here. Like, can you help us implement it in our community? So,
okay, interesting. That's exciting. Is that something you're looking at growing into? Yeah.
So we're in talks with somebody out in Florida. They want to do a magazine out in Florida. So like they partner with a real estate agent and launch a magazine out there. So we're in talks to doing that. That's kind of down the road. But yeah, so we've been approached to do different types of magazines and stuff like this. And like, podcasting, we're going out in the community, getting to the film, interviewing what's the small businesses. And it's so great to hear these people's stories and connecting, with the grassroots of the people. And so we're just seeing a lot of like support. We've got a lot of support from the community, especially some of the elected leaders. It's been really great. Never thought I was going to be interviewing people. Never thought I was going to be being that I'm always behind the camera, but now I'm in front of the camera. So it's been unique just getting out of my comfort zone.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a little bit that way too, right? So coming from an academic background, I'm a nerd, right? I was fairly introverted, and it's I've gotten better at it, but I'm still not the most well-spoken, and but I appreciate it and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
So do you have any exciting plans or initiatives coming up?
Yeah, so we are in the process of so we're basically in the magazine. We've had so many small businesses come to us and wanting to advertise. And so now we're actually opening up advertising at a low cost. People come on, as we grow, you grow. It's that partnership. So that's launching in the next month or so. And then we are getting ready to announce another magazine that's coming, entering entering the company. So my company started out as a branding. Now it's we're a full-fledged media company. Okay. So we're producing podcasts for other people. So the goal is to start a network of like, hey, this is what we're doing and how we're building it. So that's coming down the line.
Okay, excellent. That's exciting. Yeah. All right. Well, Jennifer, if people would like to connect with you or learn more, where can they go? What should they do?
Okay, so to connect with me, they can follow me on LinkedIn at Jennifer Conrad. They can follow the company, the Conrad Group. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Instagram, and then they can follow Arizona Sense. Just if they want to read, subscribe. It's ArizonaScent.com. Everyone's like, oh, how you say ascent? Like going up the mountain. So ARIZONA, ascent, ASCENT.com. And then we're on social LinkedIn, and they can follow, if they want more information about the Conrad Group, they can follow us at www.theconradgroup-az.com. All
right. Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for listening and watching. Thank you very much, Jennifer Conrad, for joining me today. Very much. Yeah. I appreciate you sharing your insights into the industry and the media and branding here in Phoenix. Thank you.
Inspired by our guests? Visit PhoenixProsperityPodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.